Hi, Rick. So we recently had an incident in Marshfield involving a car and a biker. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we had pushed out a video on Facebook of a bicyclist hitting a car, and we did that just because of the season and it being warmer out and there being more bicyclists out and about. And we wanted to inform the community that just as safe a driver has to be when they're looking for pedestrians and bicyclists, bicyclists also have to be aware of traffic and have to abide by the rules of the road as well.
Right. So, and I think it's important to stress that we are, with the warmer, summer's coming up and we're in spring right now, motorcycles and bikers and walkers. So what are some tips that maybe you guys have just to make sure that stuff like this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, the big thing is just community awareness and making sure that they know, reminded of those rules of the road. Whenever a bicyclist is on the sidewalk, they're considered a pedestrian. Pedestrians still have to yield to traffic. Obviously, you can't just run out into traffic. In this case, where the bicyclist hit a vehicle, the bicyclist didn't yield to the traffic that had the right of way at that point. When pedestrians are crossing a road, they don't necessarily just dart out into traffic. Well, that's what this bicyclist did, and they were in error, and they were actually cited for sudden movement into traffic. Had they waited at that crosswalk until it was clear or until they knew the drivers could see them, the accident would have never have happened. When a bicyclist is on the roadway, though, the bicyclist is sometimes looked at as a vehicle at that point and still has to stop for the stop signs, still has to abide by yield signs if there's a yield sign. But it's just really important to notify the community that that the need to be safe is there, and not just as a driver, but like I said before, as a pedestrian. In this case, the bicyclist wasn't wearing a helmet, which could have furthered the injuries. They weren't hurt severely, but their bicycle was damaged. Some damage on the vehicle occurred as well. Could have been a lot worse, but yeah, it's just really more of a public service announcement we're kind of making, saying, hey, it is getting warmer. The weather's getting nicer. You're going to have more bicyclists, more people walking to school, maybe walking to work, more motorcycles out there. And it's really important. Usually those smaller vehicles, such as motorcycles and mopeds, are really hard to see. Sometimes can get caught up in your blind spot. Sometimes you can be looking at a vehicle coming at you and not even see the motorcycle behind it, or the motorcycle could be blocked by the vehicle. So we ask people to just take a little bit of extra time, take a second look or a third look or a fourth look, whatever it takes, to make sure that the coast is clear and that traffic is clear before you actually venture out into your turn or proceed through an intersection.
Right, and I think it's good that obviously no one got hurt, and that's good that the biker, was okay and didn't have any serious injuries. Yeah,
absolutely. There's some questions that came up as to, can bicyclists actually ride on the sidewalk? And like I said, they're looked at as pedestrians. We used to have something in our administrative code, and I believe it still might be there, saying that they strongly encourage bicyclists to stay off of the sidewalk when you're in the downtown area. It was like from Daigie to 7th Street or Daigie to 8th Street, just because there's so many businesses in that area with doors and the sidewalks aren't super wide, to where if you have a bicyclist and people opening doors to businesses and such, I mean, somebody could get injured or somebody could walk out into the sidewalk from a business and get hit by a bicyclist. Most of the roads in the downtown area have bike lanes now, and that's a way to kind of keep those skateboarders or bicyclists off the sidewalks and into the bike lanes. But when you're out and about in the community, you'll often see, especially on some of the busier roads, maybe on Peach or on Oak, bicyclists on the sidewalk. We don't enforce that as far as saying it's illegal, but there is still the expectation that they, before they just cross blindly at an intersection as a pedestrian, that they make sure that it's clear. And if there's a vehicle waiting at the intersection, unless they're waved through, that vehicle has the right of way. One other thing I'll touch on is when a bicyclist is, again, on the sidewalk, it's really important that they stop at each stop sign. They can't just drive through it when there's no traffic there. They're required, when they're on the roadway, to actually stop at each stop sign thoroughly and not just, we often see bicyclists going through stop signs because there's no traffic, or because they're not concerned about the traffic. They feel that they're seen. Oftentimes they're not, and they're kind of putting their own life at their own hands.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, all great tips. Thanks so much for coming in.
Yeah, appreciate it.